Hi guys, I'm LaToya. So nice to see your faces. For me personally, I've been doing Fashion Week for quite a while, and nothing can ever prepare for the first show because I was literally my first show and my first year as an entrepreneur. So I was literally learning on the job. The most important takeaway for me is you have to pay attention and soak in everything because that first show is what's going to gear you up for the second show, right? So my first experience was just learning and just observing and more importantly, being respectful to the other designers.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alexandra. My label is Moena Moxham. I'm originally from New Zealand, and I moved here 2 years ago. And when I did New York Fashion Week in September last year, it was my debut at New York Fashion Week. So it was, I had 2 weeks to make that collection. I had Arctic fox fur coats and cashmere scarves, and then I was offered the opportunity to do the show. And I literally sat at my kitchen table in my undies and sewed everything after coming into the garment district and buying fabric. And I turned up to the meeting that you're at now, slightly petrified, looking at everybody like, is anybody else still sewing? Like, my garments are not quite finished. Yes. It's like my little eyes open on toothpicks. Yes. And I felt like a bit of a fish out of water. And I want to assure you guys to take a deep breath and just have so much fun because Flying Solo has it covered, and I think LaToya would agree with me on this, that I've done other fashion shows in the past as a model and as a designer, and they are not run like Flying Solo. It is, the logistics are snickety-poo, the timing is great, you're going to have a production manager who's got it down. But the one thing that you could do to really help yourself and everybody else is to make sure that you're really organized with your garments. So if you're a garment, a fashion line, have them in the order of what you want for your models and have your boxes and your shoes. And don't expect to have a lot of space because it's not going to happen. And with accessories, I'm sure you feel the same. Just make sure that your organization is really on board. But yes, I wish somebody had sat me down and just said, it's going to be so much fucking fun. Yes. With champagne and enjoy yourself. And it's just, I think it's like having your first baby. It's like, nothing prepares you for what it's like to see the things that you've spent so long making walk down in front of the runway.
Absolutely. And also collaborating and being respectful to the other designers is super important. Like, this is just my personal experience, and Flying Solo has been so on top of it, stressing collaboration, being respectful. Like, we're in the show, like the backstage, and you're throwing people's garment down. You have to really be respectful. As she mentioned, it took her like a short time and lots of sweat and tears to make these products. So please, guys, just be respectful of your other designers. It's super important, right? So I know it's crazy and it's hectic and you're grabbing stuff and you're grabbing this, but just try to bear in mind that we worked really hard on this collection, and you have to be respectful and, just be respectful of your other designers.
To add on that, you will be given the names of your models. It's really nice to make sure that you tag your models in all the shots. And tag the production assistants.
Everyone gets tagged. Yes, it's super important.
And if you can't fit it in your social media, like within the comment section for the actual post, like go and stick it down underneath, because like everybody's taken so much time and effort to be there, and it takes a lot of investment, even from the models or the people who brought the models, and it's just like a really nice thing just to make sure everybody's included.
And one thing I want to piggyback on what Alexandra said, I mean, not everyone can do it, but if you could have a style assistant just that day, just to get all the information of the models and everyone, because trust me, my first show, I made so many mistakes in terms of not tagging people, not deliberately, but because you have so many models, you have all these people that you need to tag, and it's super important to tag them. So that was also a huge learning for me. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't tag this model. I'm like, what is her name? You know what I mean? So moving forward, I try to get a friend. It doesn't have to be like someone in fashion, just someone to say, I need your help this day. Can you get all the information of all the designers, all the models? I have to tag everyone. That's super important as well. So have someone to help you on the day, right? You need that help. You need that support.
I think, I mean, with social media, I'm not the queen of social media, I have to admit. But I do notice that my followers love seeing behind the scenes, and I love showing behind the scenes. I mean, I don't really give a fuck what I show on social media. You get what you get. And it's kind of like, but for me, I love seeing what happens behind, and I love seeing like the models, but do be respectful of other people getting changed and the logistics of what that can mean, like within the background shots. Yeah, I mean, there is the footage, receiving the footage of the show is incredible. You may have to wait a little bit, so don't, get upset if you haven't got your images straight away. Like the photographers have so much work to go through and so many pictures to label and tag and, put through their own companies before as well. So they have a procedure to go through.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, like it's a fashion show, and to see what's happening behind is so neat. Who gets to see that? It's the juicy bits as well. So
for me, for the behind the scenes in working with Flying Solo, I mean, I've been doing eyewear for 6 years. I've been with Flying Solo for my entire 6 years, and I've done other shows, and Flying Solo in terms of their backstage is the more organized I've ever seen. The most important thing, guys, don't panic, don't just focus on the work and relax and breathe. It will all work out, I promise you, right? I mean, my first show, like I said, everything absorb and learn, because believe me, what you're watching and doing in your very first show, you're going to say, oh, I wish I'd known. Like, soak up everything that you can, because the behind the scene gets very crazy, and you have to just breathe, relax, and know that that is your work, and it will come down the runway the way you want it. And I think you should just have fun. And this is for me personally. I don't know if because I've done so many shows. I've done Miami, Paris, New York. I just try to relax and just enjoy the moment, right? I feel like when you panic too much, nothing, just relax and enjoy the show. Flying Solo got you, okay? They got you. So,
one thing I would say to elaborate on that, if you're a fashion collection, when you do your fittings, you need to make sure that you get everything to a point where you're really happy with it and you're happy with your models.
Yes.
And if you've made garments that are either too small or you have a model that it's not fitting right, then you really need to raise your hand at that point and say,
yes,
I need a new model, or can we find somebody else, or this isn't working, because you want to make sure at the end of the fitting that you have everything totally sorted.
Is done.
And basically it's just putting your models into each bag, and that's going to reduce a lot of your stress and worry about
the fitting
else.
is super important. Guys.
Fitting
everything gets done on that day. Bags done, ready to go. So the fittings are super important. Yes. Accessory, we definitely need collaborators, right? We definitely have to work with clothing brand. For me personally, as an eyewear designer, I feel like collaborating with any brand that fits my aesthetic, I'm always open. I'm not going to work with this designer, because Flying Solo, has over the years since I've worked with them, has been pretty excellent. I don't even have to pick the designers anymore. They know me so well. They're like, LaToya, you're working with this brand. I'm like, okay, I trust you. And then, so for me, it's super important to collaborate, guys. We must understand that this is an industry that we need each other. We may not I don't need you. And not even as an eyewear designer, even as a clothing designer, you need a collaboration. I feel like things flow so much better. I can't tell you how many production I've gotten just through collaborating with other designers, right? And this is why the tagging is also important, because in tagging people, they sometimes don't know who is behind the brand. They need to know who is behind the brand, and that when they have a face, then they're like, oh, she's pleasant, I'd love to work with her. Elizabeth can tell you that I've gotten, in 1 month, just for tagging people, I've gotten over 10 magazine spread just by tagging people, right? So collaboration is very important. As an eyewear designer, you have to collaborate. You have to work well with each other. Yes, it's super important. You can't do it alone, guys. Believe me, you cannot.
I think. Oh, I was just going to say, I think also, as a garment brand, I think sometimes people are concerned about the aesthetic of your brand or your brand identity. And I really think you should put that aside, because the power of connecting with a handbag or eyewear or jewelry designer, the doors that can open up, but also completely different demographic of people that company has already brought to your brand. So don't shy away from being like, no, I just want it to be my identity and everything I've done. It's like, or be worried about the logistics of what it is to come, with another brand on board, because Flying Solo deals with all of that side of it. So I would definitely if you're offered a shoe wear or a handbag or an eyewear or another brand to go with, grab it with open arms.
Yes. Just do it from the heart, right? And this is me speaking for myself, as a designer, I feel like you should do it out of love first, and then everything else will come after, right? Be respectful, just doing it with love and respect and kindness, because I feel like we're in such an industry where it's ego driven, and it's a lot of people, it's me. And honestly, I must say, Flying Solo has really incorporated the community of togetherness, of collaboration, and I feel like I've really learned a lot from them in terms of collaboration. And in my own experience, as an eyewear designer, I really see the importance of collaboration. When you collaborate and you have a kind spirit and you work together, the possibilities are endless, right? So just bear that in mind going forward, and it's not just me, but just collaborating, working together, and have fun. Guys, we are working in an industry where this is fashion. We're doing, so have fun with it, make it beautiful and make it memorable. That's just my takeaway from it. And all my collaborations is just by me just reaching out to people and say, hey, I love your brand, I'd love to work with you, let's collaborate. And through Flying Solo, they're like, oh, you work with Flying Solo, I love that you're into collaboration. And that has helped me so much, because I also tapped into their audience as well. So that's something to be mindful of.
To elaborate on what LaToya said, I know a lot of you will have traveled from quite far off, and you're either jet lagged or you're tired, or like me, you're still with sewing. And I think one thing to keep in mind is, especially as a creative, often we're driven to this pinnacle of what you want to create, or this vision that you have in your mind, and you're at this point running towards the fashion show with your head down, and it's like this little light at the end of the tunnel. And I think it would be one thing to just say, there's so many other little things and joys that will happen along the way, to just keep your eyes and ears open for that, because Flying Solo really is a magical family. And the marketing team, the PR department, the people that you'll meet along your journey are like really special souls within the industry. And although New York City, as we all know, the industry is actually very small. And your name and your personality and your credibility to your other fellow designers gets known very, very quickly. And surprisingly quickly. And you will see the same people at a lot of parties and different shows. So I think, to piggyback on, don't be as egotistical. I get it that you're tired and you need a lot of caffeine, but just keep in mind that there's don't turn away the person that comes around or says something. Just keep your eyes open, because there's amazing extra little special things that happen around.
Don't miss the little magical moments.
Don't miss the magical moments, or the person that comes up and says, hey, I do this, and take their business card or get their social media account, or even if your phone's died, write it down, because there'll be some reason why you're told that day. That's really important for you to have heard that from that person. So
because why do you guys do fashion? Why do we even do Fashion Week anyway, right? Why do we do it? So that's one thing to think about. What is your takeaway? What experience do you want to leave with?
I have so many brands that end up being lifetime collaborators, that end up doing accessory and jewelry together and doing season after season. Some end up selling in the same stores after, going to the same markets. It's really, really powerful. You do not understand how many amazing creative it is in one room. It's actually quite rare.
It really is. It's super special.
And all with the same vision. That's also important. All with the same vision. So,
and pedigree too. I would say that the level of quality that comes through Flying Solo it's really exceptional to be part of the show, and you really should give yourselves a pat on the back.
So let's talk about press a little bit. What press brings to your brand, and how you navigated it after the show. So what's the benefits for you?
What did you see your items in Harper's Bazaar or Vanity Fair, or does anybody else have that little girl moment where you're just I come from a tiny country at the bottom of the world. We're like a little village in the middle of nowhere, and No, I'm serious. There's only 5 million of us. There's more people in Brooklyn.
Well, Jamaica is less. We have 2.8 million. I'm Jamaican, so little tiny.
Opening up a fashion book, and you see something that you put your heart and soul into making.
Yes.
Like one.
And her coats are beautiful, by the way.
So sweet. Thank you. It really is such an incredible feeling. But I mean, the ego side of it as a designer, there's that. But the credibility for your brand, once you're featured in a magazine of that type of pedigree, it really does show to your fellow colleagues and also to New York and to the world stage how much effort you've really put into your brand. And it is important. It's a bit like social media, whether you like it or not. It is important to have that presence and to show that you've reached a certain level of recognition and identity. But fuck, it's a buzz.
Yes, it's such a
really
buzz.
Is.
It's
and
such
it's
a buzz.
so amazing to see what stylists do with your items as well. And again, that goes back to making sure that you tag whoever is involved, even makeup and hair as well. It is
everyone.
Do not leave anybody.
I actually had to tag someone's dog, so I'm like, they have Instagram? I'm like, they were in the shot. Anyway.
I would say that the editorial coverage that you get from Fashion Week, you get a lot more like the written biographies about your brand and who you are. So you want to make sure that you really do have a concise blurb ready, explaining what the history behind your brand or what your motivations for the brand is, because that will be publicized, and also an idea of kind of the photos that maybe you would prefer. I think that's the really neat thing about Fashion Week, is that you get to get your story out as well. Yes. Whereas post Fashion Week, you have more stylists taking your pieces and doing amazing things with them. And so it's more of like a creative production.
Yes. For me, in terms of the runway, I feel like press is super important, especially me as an emerging, we're all emerging designers. Press is super important. So for me, for Fashion Week, I've had so many amazing press. I remember we were on the rooftop and it was snowing that day. Yes. That was my favorite shoot, because we were on the rooftop and it's snowing, and here are these like handsome guys coming down in my eyewear, snowing, the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And when I came down the runway, I remember specifically I was wearing the Ibiza green, and Marie Claire and Getty Images snapped something of me, and I just posted it on my Instagram, and instantly that eyewear was sold out. I was like, ding, ding, ding. I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, I'm very grateful for that. But so just for that runway show, I sold out that eyewear. So this is me like, wow, this really works, right? So presence is also important. And I must say, I'm also a stylist. So I sell my brand. So whenever I walk down the runway, I'm also advertising. So that's one thing to also pay attention, because you need your walk. Make sure that walk advertise your clothes and what you're about, right? So that is why I got all those like sold out Marie Claire, Getty Images. They always have Getty Images, and people love the hype. Let's be real, right? People love the hype. They're like, oh, she's on Getty Images. So that for me, that Fashion Week, I mean, I've had other experiences where I sold out online just by going down the runway, but that one was particularly like so emotional for me, because within 10 minutes, the eyewear was sold out, right?
Oh,
I think that ambience that Flying Solo did with the snow and on the rooftop, it kind of added that element. And in terms of editorial,
how did you organize that?
It was so beautiful. I mean, we were cold, but it was worth it. It was so like the snow was coming down. All I'm like, please don't. I was like in stiletto. As I'm walking, I'm like, please don't fall, because I was literally walking on ice, guys. So so for me, for runway, super important. And then for the editorial, oh my God. I feel so lucky and blessed to be in the copper room, because guys, I literally get a minimum of 5 editorial each month from the copper room, right? As a little girl, this means so much to me, because I grew up reading these very magazines, and then to see your product in this, like the first time I was in Harper's Bazaar, I cried. Because I grew up as a little country girl, like literally running on barefoot, and to be in these magazines that I read as a little girl, it's so inspirational. And thank Elizabeth and the Copper Room for giving me that opportunity. I would suggest, guys, that if you can be in the store, be in the Copper Room, it's a big deal. Because of them, I've been like last year I checked, I was published 222 times. Fortunately, that wasn't a me, it was a we.
Yeah.
And this is why, again, it's important to tag people, because half of those were me just reaching out to people. Oh my God, I love this. And I should check Jackie. Where is Jackie? She's so amazing. She does this amazing editor with my eyewear. And I reach out to, and I'm like, I'm that kind of designer where I'm not in the shoot. Like, I'm in the back. This is the copper room. And I'm reaching out to them. Thank you. Like, have some gratitude for people choosing your eyewear. The copper room has a lot of eyewear. They could choose another brand. And this is why, having a kind heart will take you so much further than your talent, right? This is me getting these magazines as well, because I reached out to them. I love this. Can we do another one like this? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. You know what I mean? So having a heart, not just being a designer, but having a heart and being very collaborative and respectful of people, I think that will take you a long way. And that is why I've been featured 222 times in 1 year.